Stephanie was here 2 years ago, and others were here even 2 years ago as well. So I want to find out how many of you were in my lecture that we would have had last summer in 2025. Hold up your hand if you were here last summer, just so I can see. 1, 2, 3, 4 people. Okay, that's what I thought. So not everyone. For you, some of the things I have said before, I will be saying again. This lecture, I do not think I had the opportunity to speak on, and so this may be newer for you this time. But then next week when I speak on cultural leadership, CQ, cultural intelligence, and global leadership, there will be some repetition for you. But my perspective of learning is repetition brings learning. Helps you to learn more. I also want to ask where you are from. I know this young man is from Russia, he said. How many are maybe from Burma, or Burmese? Okay, yes, several of you from Burma. Okay, fantastic. How many are from Japan? Okay, 5 or 6 from Japan. Okay. Other Vietnam, we have at least one. Anybody else from Vietnam beside? Okay, also from Vietnam. 2 from Vietnam. Okay. Other places. Other country. Yes, hi.
Mongolia.
Mongolia. Anybody else from Mongolia? Mongolia. Well, nice to meet you. You? Okay, you're both from Mongolia. Okay, wonderful. Where are you from? Philippines. Ah, what city in the Philippines? Manila. I have been to Manila. I spent a summer in Baguio, lecturing in Baguio at University of Philippines in Baguio University there in 1983, many years ago. I was at that university. Other countries. Yes?
Nepal.
Nepal? Okay, great. How many from Nepal? This row. Okay, oh good. All right, so you stay together so I can make sure I see you. Other countries. Any other? So Nepal, Vietnam, Philippines, Mongolia, Burma, Japan. Any place else? Well, this is wonderful, and I'm from the U.S., and so we have 6 different countries represented here in this class. And I'm convinced that this will be very, especially as I talk about global leadership and about different cultures, the next time, this will help you to understand even more the culture that you're from, but also the culture that your friend may be from as well. As Obari Sensei mentioned to you, my daughter lives in Japan. Her name is Hannah Grace. She is an actress for NHK. She sings, and she is a drama actress, and she's a voice actress. She sung Fate Grand Order, and then Attack on Titan. Anybody know of Attack on Titan video game? Or the show, the anime? She sung in that. In Japan, she also played a character in the movie, the TV show called Hanako to An. That was a Azadora drama, and so she played Scott Sensei. And that was about 10 years ago when she did that. Her and her husband live here in Tokyo, and so when we come to Japan, we live with her in Otaku, in that area close to Tokyo Tech. And I get a chance to visit and engage and to participate in your class. I'll be at Tokyo Tech next week as well, at Waseda, at Rikyo, and also at Kanda International University. I will have the opportunity to lecture. So today's lecture is called basically Insights on Personal Leadership. Before you and I are able to lead in a global context or with many people, we have to learn to lead ourselves. So we're going to talk about some leadership principles. This is going to be in 2 parts. We'll have the first one until about 10:20, and then we'll have the second half starting a little bit after that. But as we discuss those things, I'm going to want you to think, I'm going to want you to process, I'm going to want you to analyze your own leadership to make sure that how are you doing as you lead yourself. We're going to have talk about the impact of leadership. We will discuss definitions on leadership. We will talk about the 3 relationships that every leader has and needs to have. And then we're going to talk about the structure of leadership, talking about purpose and values, goals, and a plan. And so we will take this, we will cover most of this today. If we do not complete it, I will work on it some more next week as well. Will you, by chance, will the class be joining together next week? Yes. This week? Okay. Will they be together in 3 weeks when the Americans, students get here? Oh, good. Okay, that makes sense. First of all, the impact of leadership. I have a question on the board. It says, in what categories of life do you find people who give leadership? I'll give an example. In the military, people have leadership. You have a general, or you have a captain, or you may have a sergeant or a lieutenant. That's one category of leadership. What are some other areas in the world or categories of leadership? Yes?
Sport.
In sports, yes. How many of you, did anyone here play sports? Soccer or baseball or, okay. If you're on a sports team, you have a coach. He or she is the leader. Then you often have a captain of the team, and they're the leader of the team as well. So sports, that's an excellent example of a different category. Another category of leadership. Sports, military. Where are you now? University. Yes, so in education, there is leadership. You have a professor or a sensei. You have a president. You have the chairman of the board. You have other teachers. And you have students. And that's all levels of leadership that take place that influence your life. Another category of leadership.
Politics.
Politics, yes. Politics is a very fascinating aspect of leadership. Depending on your country, you may have a president or a prime minister. And if you're in the United Kingdom, there's a king as well and a queen. But in politics, there's presidents and prime ministers and senators and House of Representatives. I'm from Kentucky. Anybody eat Kentucky Fried Chicken? KFC? Okay, that is where I am from. Kentucky, Colonel Sanders. His wife had a restaurant in my town many years ago. And so in our state of Kentucky, we actually had elections yesterday. And we were electing some new senators and some new congressmen in our Kentucky. So you have military, you have education, sports, politics. What else areas of leadership? Yes?
Doctors.
Excuse me?
Doctors.
Doctor, yes. Medically? Yeah, in the medical profession, you may have the chief of staff, or you have the president of the hospital, and then you have interns who report to the next doctor. My daughter-in-law is a doctor in Kentucky, and she's very prestigious and has studied in charge of COVID and learning the aspects of COVID, especially for children. Anything else? A number more category at least. Yes. Family, yes, the family. Your family, you have a father, maybe a mother. Hopefully you have had both a father and mother. You may have an older brother or an older sister. Anyone have an older brother? Okay. Anyone have an older sister? Okay. I am the youngest of 3. So my oldest sister was 9 years older than me. Then I have a sister that's 3 years older, and I'm the baby of the family. I am the youngest. Speaking of my family, let me show you a picture of people that have impacted my life, and then I'm going to ask you the same question. There's 3 pictures up here. These are 3 men or 3 families that had great influence in my life. This first one here, this is my family, and this is me when I'm just about 6 or 7 years old. And my father was the leader of our family. That's my mother and my sister, my 2 sisters there. I learned many things from my father. One of the things I learned was the significance of working hard, doing your best. When you say that you're going to do something, that you do it with all of your heart. And that's what I learned from my father. He was a very hard worker. And when he was younger, and when I was younger, then as he got older, he became an alcoholic, and it was very difficult at that time. The man here, his name was Howard Matthews. And actually, his brother lived in the Philippines, in Manila, actually. And when I went to the Philippines, I tried to find his brother who lived there in the Philippines. I learned from Howard Matthews. Howard Matthews was a spiritual teacher. He was a minister. And I learned about the aspects of my life, about my heart, and about a bigger picture of life. And that life, we have been created in the image of God. And I learned about the spiritual dimension of my life. Now, from my father, I learned how to work with my hands and be a hard worker. From Brother Matthews, I learned about my heart. This man here is a federal judge. His name is Judge James Fleming Gordon, very successful man in Kentucky. He knew Colonel Sanders of KFC. He knew the President of the United States. He knew the governor of our country. He was a judge. I worked for him on his farm. I drove his tractor. I took care of his cattle. I took care of all of his, he had 300 acres. I took care of all of his land all the way through high school. And what I wanted to do when I graduated high school, my ambition was to be a professional tractor driver. I just wanted to work on the farm. But Judge Gordon said, no, no, no. He said, you're going to go to college. See, none of my family had ever gone to college. None of them had gone to the university. They were good workers and hard workers, but no one had actually gone to the university and studied in the university. And this man said, you are going to go to the university and you are going to study. See, my father taught me how to work with my hands and be a hard worker. This man taught me about my heart and about my relationship with God. He taught me about my mind. Even though I worked on the farm with him, he said, you need to develop your mind. So I want to ask you a question. Again, those are three people that have impacted my life. Who has impacted your life? Who is an individual that has influenced your life? Okay, is it on that list? I think yes. Okay. You want to explain on the list where that is? And so I want you to think for just 10 or 15 seconds. Who I mentioned three of mine. Who for you has impacted your life? Think about it. And then I want you to tell your neighbor who that person was. Okay? Once you decide who that is, then talk to your neighbor and tell your neighbor who that person was. Okay? Go ahead. Talk just a minute. Each person tells someone who impacted your life. Family? Mother, father, brother, sister? Which one? Huh? The old in the family. Okay, good. Okay, I want you to talk with me now. How many of you said that your father was the one who impacted your life? He did. Okay, you as well. A number of you said your father. What did you learn from your father?
I learned from my father hard work.
Hard work from your father. Good. What did you learn from your father?
To be brave.
Okay, great, fantastic. How many of you said your mother was the person? Yes. And how many? What did you learn from your mother?
thinking about herself and observing our needs.
Okay, so she was not selfish, but she thought about you, her daughter, or she thought about you as a family member, so she was unselfish. Who else said their mother? Okay, yes. What did you learn from your mother?
Don't lose your bad time.
Okay, don't stop during hard times or during bad times, to keep working hard during bad times. Is that what you said? Yes, wonderful. Anybody else said their mother? Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Be a real man, never complain about the situation.
Ah, I like that. Be a real man. Don't complain. Do your job. Work hard. And that's interesting because that is a very important thing in our culture. In your culture, you are from the Vietnam. And so, in whatever culture you're from, you learn from your mother and your father. How many of you said your brother or sister was influenced? Okay, your brother or sister?
She's taught my sister.
Your sister?
Not to give up.
Not to give up. You learn. Is she your older sister?
Or is it?
Older sister, wonderful. Who else said their sister or their brother? Sister? Yes. What did you learn?
She taught me a lot about how to life and be strong person.
Well, good. About life and this how to live. And anybody said their brother? Okay. How about anybody say a teacher? Anybody say a teacher had an impact? You had teacher? What year in school was that teacher?
Middle school. Middle school.
In middle school. What was the course? What was the topic?
How to stay humble.
How to stay humble. Yes, that is good. You know, because it is very interesting. Sometimes when people get education, they think, I'm the best because I have an education or I'm a professor. But we stay humble. That's one thing about education. Anybody else say anything about a teacher? How about a coach? Anybody say a coach? A sports coach? See, it's interesting. Did one of y'all say coach? It is very interesting that each of us can point to someone. And we can say, my mother, or my father, or my brother, or my sister, or my teacher has impacted my life. My question for you is, who are you impacting? Who are you influencing in life? See, because the desire is that each of us have that ability to influence someone else. I want to tell you and to explain to you basically definitions of leadership. The first definition is one of my favorites. It says by Sanders. He wrote it in 1967, but it's still very true. Leadership is influence, the ability of one person to influence others. One can lead others only to the extent that he or she can influence them. So a person has to have the ability to influence. Thrall said, leadership occurs anytime one attempts to influence you. Sometimes our leaders are our friends, right? And did anybody say that your friend is your leader? So we have to be careful because sometimes our friends influence us to do good things. Other times our friends influence us to do negative things. But it's basically the aspect of influence. Northhouse said, leadership is a process whereby an individual's influence a group of people to go toward a common goal. My definition of leadership, when I did my doctoral work in leadership many years ago, is accepting a calling upon your life as you live a life of personal character, influencing others toward a worthy goal. And that's important. It's toward a goal. Each of us are always moving someone from point A to point B. From here to there. And we influence those people actually through relationships. Mark Twain made a statement that the two most important days in your life, and he was an influential leader in America, the two most important days in your life are the days you are born and the day you find out why. And I want you to look at your finger. Hold your finger up. I want you to look at it. Everybody hold your finger up. Now look. Now, what is different about your finger and the person beside you? You are unique. Maybe yours is longer. But your fingerprint is special. There are 8.3 billion people on this earth. 8.3 billion people. Nobody else has your fingerprint. You are special. You are unique. And because you are special and you are unique, it actually tells, we are told, that we have been created in the image of God. And you are so special. And the most important thing to understand is you need to find out why the first most important day, according to Mark Twain, is the day you were born. The second most important day is to find out why. And that relates to your purpose in your life. And we'll be discussing that in a few minutes as well. See, effective leaders influence others through significant relationships. And there are 3 relationships that every leader has to manage. 3 relationships that each person needs to think through. How am I leading, or how is this taking place? It's called a leader in others, a leader in self, and then a leader and their mentor. See, a leader and their mentor helps you to understand why you do what you do. One of my mentors in life is Obari Sensei. We met about 10 years ago. And he has helped me greatly in Japan to understand how to communicate more effectively, to understand the culture, to understand how to relate while I'm living here in Japan. Those pictures that I showed a couple of minutes ago were 2 men that were my mentor, Howard Matthews and Judge Gordon. We will discuss mentors in a few minutes. The second relationship is a leader in yourself. And that is your character, or who are you? See, your leader influences your life, but then in your life, you have to decide what kind of person you want to be. It's like you said that your mother said to you to be a man and to be strong. That relates to your character and who you are. Or your father may say to do your best and to work hard. It relates to our character. And the third relationship is a leader in others. And that is what you do. See, we think of leadership as me saying to you, you follow me. And then I walk and you follow with me. But a leader has to also first lead themselves. And they need to have someone that is leading their life as well. 3 relationships: self, others, and their mentor. Okay? Now I want you to think about your own life. And on a scale of 1 to 5, how are you doing leading yourself? Are you doing well? Like, are you disciplined? Do you work hard? Or if you do well, you give yourself a 5. If you're lazy and you have to be drugged to the meeting and you fall asleep in class, then that would be a 1. And so you have to help each other to stay. And your friends can help you to do that. And in our life, these circles represent kind of the head, our heart, and our hands. It's what you will do with your hands, who you are, your character, and why you do that. It's the influence upon your life. There's a Japanese diagram that you may have seen before that I believe helps to illustrate this. It's ikigai, I think, is the word that is used, ikigai. And instead of 3 diagrams, this has 4 circles. There and there. The bottom one is what we think about colleges for, is getting a job that we can be paid. The one on your right, on your left, is what are you good at. The one on your right is what does the world need. And at the very top, it is what do you love to do. A few minutes ago, I talked to you about my daughter, Hannah. When Hannah was your age, she went to college. And she said, Otto-san, I want to become an actress. I want to be, didn't want to be a star, but she said, I want to tell stories. I want to act out stories, and I want to sing, and I want to be able to help people understand their life. And so I said, that is what she loved, and that was her passion. She was very, very good at that, even in high school and in college. She came to Japan, and within the first year she was here, she got a job on a TV show playing Scott Sensei. So she loved it. She was good at it. She was able to be paid, and now NHK pays her to do that. And she believes the world needs good stories. And she tells the stories. She told the story about COVID, and that was on the NHK. People heard it all over the world about how Japan was leading even with the security helps and things of that nature. So she tells the story. So for each of you, you need to think through, what do you love? What are you good at? What does the world need? And what you can be paid for. And when you get right there in the center, when they all come together, that helps you to understand your purpose. Helps you to understand your meaning. It helps you to understand your aspects of your life. Ikigai means the reason for being. The Japanese phrase that is there. So 3 relationships. And what I want to do in those 3 relationships, explain once again. The mentor is a person that influences you. Then you have to lead yourself. And then you lead others to the objective. So most people think that leadership is only this. But I want you to understand that leadership is also who influences your life, and then can you lead yourself, and can you lead yourself effectively? So the question is, what does a leader do? I want you to think, just a second, what do you hope your leader or your mentor does in your life? And then I will explain. Think a second. I'll be right back. What does a leader do? Question number 2. Okay, good. On the list there. That's good. How did you answer that?
I said, what is a good leader?
Okay, good. Yeah, discuss that with each other, and then I'm going to tell you a story. We have 10 more minutes before we take our break. Okay, let me ask you a question. How many of you have a phone? Everybody has a phone. Well, a number of years ago, this was during COVID, so 5 or 6 years ago, we came to Japan in 2019 and also in 2020 And we left Japan the day before COVID hit in Japan. At Yokohama, in Yokohama there was a big boat that people sailed in on, and that had COVID. And so we left 2 days before that boat arrived here. When I got back to America, my phone died. It completely went dead. I had many, many pictures. I had many, many stories. I had many, many notes on my phone. So I took it to a phone repairman in Kentucky, and I said, "Can you fix my phone?" And he said, "No, your phone is dead. Throw it away, and here's a new phone." I said, "No." I said, "My phone has many, many pictures from Japan. I want my phone." And he said, "Your phone is dead." So I took it to another place. And I said, "My phone does not work. Can you fix it?" He said, "Yes, I can fix it, but I have to erase all the stuff on your phone." And I said, "No." He said, "Then your phone will be like brand new." I said, "But I want the pictures on the phone. I want to be able to see what's on my phone." So I left that store. And then I called a friend of mine and I said, "Where would you take your phone to be fixed if something was broken?" And he said, "I would take it to this store and I would talk to John." And so I went to a certain store. I found John and I gave him my phone and I said, "My phone is dead. Can you bring it back to life?" He looked at it. He said, "Yes, I can fix it." I said, "Are you going to erase it?" He said, "No. When you come back tomorrow, you give me $100 or 10,000 yen. Come back tomorrow and your phone will be like it used to be." And so I went back the next day and he handed me my phone and I turned it on and all the pictures were there. See, what he did was he took my dead phone and he gave it life. That's what leaders do. Leaders take things that are dead, that are not working, or people that are struggling, and they give them life. So let me explain what life means. L-I-F-E. L stands that a leader leads by example. Your mother said, "Be a man, work hard." What she's saying to you is be a leader and lead by example. Let other people see how you're doing. All of us want a leader that we can look up to and say, "Yes, I want to be like her," or "I want to be like him." And they lead by example. That's what L stands for. Number 2 is they inspire toward a vision or purpose. They take you from point A and they take you to point B and they say, "You can do this." They inspire you. They help with your purpose. Judge Gordon, the man, said to me, "Thomas, you need to go to college. You need to get an education." And I said, "I don't need an education." He said, "Yes, you need to get an education." He helped to give me a purpose in life. And I went to university. Then I went to graduate school. Then I got my doctoral degree. And now I even teach in Japan. That man died many years ago. This morning I texted his son, who's almost 80 years old, and I said, "I am teaching in Japan today, in Tokyo." And he said, "Judge Gordon would be happy because of education." So first, a leader leads by example. Second, they inspire toward a vision. They take you in a direction. Third, they take you from fear to faith, or trust and courage. When my phone broke, I was afraid of losing everything. And that leader gave me my phone back. He took away my fear. When we had COVID 4 or 5 years ago, 5 or 6 years ago, our whole world was afraid. and doctors gave us vaccinations. Doctors told us how to function. They took away our fear. And they say, you can make it. You will be okay. And now, very few people get COVID like they used to do. We went from fear, and then we went from faith. See, that's one of the most important things a leader does. They help us overcome fears. Some people, some university students are afraid of failure. They are afraid of disappointing their parents. They're afraid of the future. They're afraid of not doing well on a test. And the most important leaders of all time talks about fear. And he says that perfect love casts out fear. Because fear involves punishment. But you have been loved perfectly. And that leader was a person named Jesus Christ. And talked about how we have been loved and how he has loved us perfectly. So a leader first leads by example, inspires toward a vision, takes us from fear to faith, and then lastly, they encourage your heart. They say, you can do it, don't give up. Go, you'll be okay. And they help you to go from point A to point B. They say, you're going to make it. You're going to be okay. You will be strong. And Stephanie, you will graduate. And they basically help us to go to the next purpose, and they encourage our heart. Well, I have a question for you. Which letter of life is most important to you? Lead by example, inspire toward a vision, take you from fear to faith, or to encourage your heart. Talk to the person beside you. I'll go back to that slide and think through which of the letters is most important to you. And we will do this for just a second. So talk to your neighbor and you tell them, is it lead, inspire, to fear to faith, or to encourage your heart? You discuss that. Yes, I'll get the answers to that. Is that okay? Okay, are you telling each other? Okay, you're discussing? Okay. Okay, let me ask you, how many of you said L, that lead by example is most important? Anybody said L? Anyone? Okay. How about to inspire toward a vision? How many said this is most important, inspire toward a vision? Anyone? Almost, maybe not quite. Oh, yes, okay, all right, okay, good. A couple of you, okay. How many of you said from fear to faith, overcome your fear? Several of your hands went up, yes. See, that's important. Some people say that leaders do not become afraid, but that is not true. Leaders have courage and overcome their fears. Every leader has fear. Everybody is fearful at times. But a good leader is a person who says, I am afraid, but I will keep going. I have an 8-year-old grandson named David in America. And his name is David, and I saw him the day I left Japan, or the day before I left Japan. And as he got in the car, I said, David, be strong and courageous. Because sometimes he can be afraid. And I said, David, You can be strong and courageous. You can overcome your fear. And the last one here is encourage your heart. How many said encourage your heart? Okay, another about, so several of you said encourage your heart. Several of you said from fear to faith, and then some of those other ones as well. You need to find a leader in your life, and you need to be a leader that gives people life. That says, you can do it. Or they tell you, do not be afraid. You can overcome your fear. Or they say, follow my lead. I'm going. You come with me. And they say, I will encourage your heart in life. We will stop here and we'll take a break. It is now 10:22. So we'll start back up at
今日話したことってね、みんなにとってものすごく重要なことだからね。わかるね。これ人生に将来大きく影響するからね。それぞれがリーダーシップの資格があるってことね。ものすごく有意義なんで、しっかり後半の話も聞いてください。必ずね、社会に出て成功します。彼の話聞いて実際に実践すればね。頑張ってください。はい、それじゃあ、10時35分から始めましょう。時間通りに。はい、お疲れ様でした。
How long have you been here at GPU? Is this your first year? For 2 years. Okay, good. Okay. Oh, wonderful. We're glad that you came back. Hope this helpful.